of shifting gears here. When you were first starting to explore your gender, were you concerned about going from being seen as female to being seen as not just a man, but a black man in our culture?
Honestly, no, I wasn't. I did not think about that in detail. I was just so excited to move from female to male, and just gradually see myself shine through the reflection in the mirror. Though that was my biggest focus. Um, but the uh, the reality of being a black man in society that came very quick. That came very, very swift and with great impact. Just learning what it's like to be a black man in society. And I'll be honest, um, I've most of my life I presented as a masculine female, and in most cases, prior to actually undergoing HRT, I was able to assimilate as male in a lot of spaces, meaning that I blended as male quite easily, even though I hadn't taken hormones or done any of the legal changes to my identity. But I'll say that even I was not prepared to step in the shoes of a black man in the world because I had no idea of what all that identity really entailed. I understood that the plight of the black man was a negative one. Just like you, I see all the things that they show in the media each day. And even more so, just the people that lived around me, my brother and how he ended up in jail, having relatives and friends go through things as a black man. I did know that the plight was negative and that it was uh, a great challenge, but I didn't know, again, in great detail from the daily things until I started to undergo those things myself um, post transitioning. And I'll say that, again, it was very eye opening experience for me um, to just kind of go from, because even presenting as a masculine female, I could always fall back on, you know, I'm a black female, meaning that, I found that actually gave me a little more credit in some scenarios, meaning if I was perceived as a young black man, because again, I was teens, early 20s, so a young black male in a lot of situations and scenarios. If I was seen or perceived as a young black male in some scenarios, I could be seen as a threat, or I could be seen as not so smart, or I could be seen as dishonest. But if I were to announce my identity as, oh, I'm a black female, I'm just presenting masculine in so many words, then it was sort of an ease. Oh, I got a little more credit. Well, maybe you're not so bad. Well, oh, you're college educated as well. Well, maybe you're not so bad. And that was something that I could kind of fall back on. But, you know, full time, when I went through my journey or taking my journey into manhood full time, um, is continues to be an experience, I'll say, because it's not something that you can take off, and it's I've sort of taken a bump down in the societal class of privilege, if there's such a thing. I went from, I mean, a black man in America is like public enemy number one. I mean, it's the most hated, most feared identity in America. And I didn't know the realism of this until I actually began to walk in these shoes. And I very soon found that, as they say, the struggle is real. And again, this we're talking about daily things such as how my interactions go when I go into the corner store, how my interactions go when I cross a lady on the street, whether she be black or white. The vibes have changed from me being just a black female. Um,
Had you known what it would be like to be a black man, would that have changed your decision to transition?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Again, I mean, it has its challenges, but I feel more in touch with myself. Um, I feel whole now, and that's what matters. I mean, you're gonna have your challenge. Everybody has challenges when we're talking about dealing with relationships and society and any sort of interaction. You know, there are gonna be challenges. So I've taken on new challenges indeed. But what matters, what actually fills my spirit and completes my soul, is what I feel when I'm alone. You know, how I feel when I look in the mirror. And those are the things that count for me. Those are the things that enrich my life. You know, I don't find those are challenges in life, but my enrichment comes from within, right? And being able to look at myself. My enrichment doesn't come from somebody treating me bad or mistreating me or not accepting me. Those are my challenges. But my enrichment is liberating myself to live in my truth. And so, you know, if I could do it all over again, I definitely would. You know, I'd probably work out a little more along the way, but other than that, I wouldn't change a thing, Bryce.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
But then, you know, after a few months and the hormone replacement therapy began to take effect, and I began to present more male in society, then that's when the social transition kicked in, which I was not again prepared for. My social transition as a black into a black man, and the various things that came along with that. You know, other black men were suddenly a little more aggressive with me. Um, black even black women who used to be somewhat friendly were now a little more standoffish. Um, you know, people would or I felt would assume I was dishonest in any scenario. You know, and these were things that I was a part of my transition that I had not anticipated. And so when I would go back to my community or this Yahoo group and sort of talk to these guys about it, um, most of them couldn't really relate. You know, most of the guys, or I would say all of the guys, to my knowledge, were white men, white trans men. And again, they were great. They gave me community. They helped me with resources. You know, they were everything that I needed at the time. But then when I got to a point in my transition where I'd become a black man and things got real on that level, I didn't have a community. So again, I'm looking for community in my transition.